you judge women like me. You
No,
judged me before you and me, so
I had a reason. I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I just explained the reason.
What was the reason?
The internet has been on fire ever since new reports started, circulating about a shocking moment that allegedly went down during the Puerto Rico trip involving Scrappy, Kirk, and a surprise appearance that nobody saw coming, Cardi B. Now, again, none of this is confirmed by the cast or the network, but the way these stories are spreading, the way fans are reacting, and the way blogs are scrambling to keep up, has turned this whole situation into one of the wildest topics online, right? Now. According to what people are posting, things supposedly took a turn when Scrappy and Kirk's tension boiled over during the trip. Some viewers say they noticed the energy shift on social media days before the story even broke. Others claim they saw hints in live clips that something explosive happened behind the scenes. But the twist that really pushed the internet into chaos was the rumor that Cardi B herself stepped in at the height of the tension. Bloggers are saying she either witnessed the argument or got involved, depending on which version you hear, and fans are already debating every detail like they were standing right there in the room. What's making this blow up? Even more is how many different versions are floating around. Some say Cardi tried to calm the situation. Some say she was calling out the drama. And some say she walked straight into the middle of whatever Scrappy and Kirk were arguing about. Either way, the reactions alone have turned this into a full-blown moment. People are confused, shocked, laughing, arguing. It's become a whole wave online. And with all these stories surfacing at once, folks are asking the same question. What really happened out there in Puerto Rico? And how did Cardi B end up in the middle of it?
I worked so hard, bro. I worked so hard on my speech. And a lot of y'all talking about like, oh, why are you reading it from your phone? I had to write that shit down because I had to make. I'm 32 years old, and I have 3 kids. My mind be racing all the day. Like it's like sometimes I be arguing on my shower, like rehearsing what I'm gonna tell when I see them. And you know what? I forget what I be telling them. I'm like, damn, I was in the shower for 30 minutes putting what I was gonna say to this mother. But you know what? Then when I be in face to face, I be forgetting. So you know, when it comes to this right here, I been knew what I've been wanting to say, but I had to make sure I ain't forget. So I wrote that down. Cause y'all gonna hear what the I wanted. Y'all gonna hear what the I had to say. And I'm proud of myself.
Ever since these reports started surfacing, people online have been trying to piece together how a simple getaway turned into the kind of chaos that has everyone talking. It supposedly started with small things, little moments during the Puerto Rico trip that fans say felt off even before any drama exploded. Some people swear that Scrappy's mood looked heavy in every clip he posted. Others say Kirk was acting way too calm, like he already knew tension was waiting for him on the island. And when those quick glimpses from their stories leaked onto gossip pages, viewers began connecting dots that nobody even realized were dots yet. The version that's making the most noise right now claims that Scrappy showed up to the trip already frustrated. Online commenters are saying he had unresolved issues with Kirk. Old stuff that never really went away but just stayed buried until the right moment cracked everything open. According to these reports, the trip was supposed to be a breather for the whole group, a reset kind of moment where everyone could relax and stop thinking about whatever drama had followed them through the past few seasons. But the second the group supposedly landed, people insist the energy wasn't matching the vacation vibe at all. Fans who were watching everything unfold said the smiles looked forced, the hugs looked stiff, and the group photos had a weird distance between Scrappy and Kirk that everyone noticed. But nobody commented on directly. And then, out of nowhere, the rumor about Cardi B being on the island hit the internet. That's what flipped the entire conversation. People didn't even know she was anywhere near Puerto Rico, but those blurry fan photos started circulating within minutes. Someone claimed she was staying at the same resort. Another post said someone from Cardi's circle was seen hanging out near the cast. And once her name got attached, the story took on a whole different shape. In the comments, fans were already predicting that if drama really did break out, Cardi wouldn't just sit and watch. They said she'd jump in, either to calm things down or call it out for what it was. Because that's the energy people expect from her. Once her name was in the mix, every new rumor exploded twice as fast. Sources online claim the tension between Scrappy and Kirk reached a boiling point at some private dinner the group had the night before the big argument. The way the blogs describe it, Scrappy supposedly felt like Kirk wasn't being honest about something that happened earlier in the trip. The details keep changing depending on which page you read, but the general vibe is that Scrappy felt disrespected. Some posts say Kirk dismissed him in front of the group. Others say Kirk made a joke that Scrappy didn't appreciate. And a few people claim Scrappy was already irritated by something involving one of the women on the trip. And Kirk's reaction lit the match. No matter which version you read, fans agree on one thing. Scrappy looked like he was carrying something heavy inside him, and it wasn't going to stay inside much longer. Interview.
And throw that shit out, throw that shit straight in the trash. If that shit negative, I throw that shit straight in the trash. I look at it, I know it's real, I acknowledge it so it won't be no fake shit. I acknowledge that shit, and I say, you know what? I'm glad I'm where I'm at now. I'm glad I'm at where I'm at now. Because this what it would be still. It would be this dumb shit going on right here, and when nobody know it. Because I'm a quiet nigga, I just started putting people on blast. But other than that, I don't put people on blast. And it's a lot of us that don't put people on blast, and we stay in pain in our silence. You know what I'm saying? We like, well, my bad, we be in pain. We are in pain silently. Sorry. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta, you know what I'm saying? It's on you, my nigga. It's on you, my girl. You feel what I'm saying? Like, we gotta do this shit for ourselves. We gotta tap in with God and pull ourselves out the mud, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? We gotta pull ourselves out the mud. And the only reason I'm doing this post today is because I know it's a lot of people that need this shit. I know it's a lot of people that need that love. I know it's a lot of people that don't know where the fuck they at in life. Nigga, love will leave your ass like you be like, man.
Of the wildest parts of this whole thing is how many witnesses everybody suddenly became. Once the story started spreading, dozens of anonymous accounts began posting their own versions of what they saw. Some said voices were raised at the dinner table. Others claimed the tension was so thick that 2 people ended up leaving the table early. Gossip pages started sharing posts saying the energy was off. Weird, like somebody was about to stand up any second. And that's when the Cardi twist hit again. People began sharing comments saying she may have been close enough to hear the argument forming. Nothing about that is confirmed, of course. But the speculation alone turned the situation into a massive trending topic overnight. From there, the story that's getting the most attention describes Scrappy waking up the next morning still visibly upset. According to these online reports, he wasn't trying to hide it. The rumor is that he confronted Kirk near the pool area, where a few other cast members were already hanging out. Bloggers keep describing the same moment using different words. But the tone is the same everywhere. Scrappy was done holding back. Allegedly, he walked straight up to Kirk and asked him why he couldn't just be real for once. Not loud at first, not yelling, just direct enough that everyone nearby could feel the air shift. Fans love to talk.
My fans ask for it. I'm tired of think about what the haters want or what the haters wouldn't want. I gotta think about what the people that actually love me and buying my shit and buy it because they love it want. And that's what the fuck they want, that's what the fuck they're gonna get. Yeah.
Scrappy has this way of looking calm even when he's seconds away from exploding. And that's exactly how people are describing that moment. Kark, according to these reports, tried to keep things light at first. Like he didn't want it to escalate. Some posts say he tried brushing it off with a joke. Others say he told Scrappy they weren't about to ruin the whole trip over a misunderstanding. But the more he tried to downplay it, the more the story says Scrappy's frustration started boiling through. People online claim that Scrappy told Kirk he was tired of being made out to look like the problem every time something happened. They say he felt like Kirk only took things seriously when it benefited him, and that he had been holding in these feelings for a long time. The argument reportedly picked up fast after that. Fans are saying voices started rising. Both men supposedly stepped closer. Someone in the comments even said Scrappy's hands were moving like he was trying to keep himself from reacting physically. And you know how the internet is. Once one person says something dramatic happened, everyone else suddenly has a story that matches it. Within an hour, people were posting comments saying they heard the argument from across the resort. Some swear they saw crew members move closer, like they were expecting something to go wrong. Others said the energy got so heavy that a few people who had been watching near the pool quietly slipped away, not wanting to get caught in the middle. But the craziest part of the reports is how suddenly Cardi's name got pulled back into the conversation. As the rumor goes, she was somewhere nearby when the argument hit its loudest point. Nobody knows if she was walking past, hanging out with someone, or simply in the area. But the story spreading online claims she paused.
What's going on with you and Bambi?
Man, listen, bro. Shawty got served, bro. I had to serve Shawty.
Serve her, like...
Yeah, we going back to court, bro.
She writing books and doing all this stuff with my kids' likeness ain't said nothing to me about it. She need to know that every time she do some dumb that's where we gonna be at. You heard that, right? Me and baby mama number 2 headed right back to court. She did this children's book about divorce, and she was saying stuff in there that was demeaning to me. You know what I'm saying? Saying lies and hiding it in the disguise of a children's book.
I'm excited to see you perform at the fashion show. You said you performing still, right?
As long as I ain't gotta be around her, I'm good.
Listen, you grown, she grown.
No,
she
I just
gonna be over there modeling.
Her negative vibe is strong because she's Satan's imp.
Paused when she heard the argument escalate. Fans say Cardi doesn't like messy energy, and the idea that she might have overheard Scrappy and Kirk going at it was enough to make the internet lose its mind for the second time. The blogs started posting captions like Cardi in the middle, Cardi steps in, Cardi not having it, and even though every version is different, the speculation alone became its own storyline. From there, the commentary gets even wilder. One account claims Cardi spoke up when Scrappy raised his voice. Another says she called out Kirk for trying to brush everything off. A different page insists she didn't get involved at all, but her presence alone made everyone shift their behavior. Nobody knows which version is closest to the truth. And that uncertainty is exactly what's making this blow-up even bigger. Once Cardi's name is attached, fans treat every rumor like it's 10 times more dramatic. The part that everyone keeps talking about is how Scrappy supposedly turned and noticed Cardi watching. According to people posting about this, his whole expression changed for a second. Not embarrassment, not surprise, but something like realizing the moment had become way bigger than he intended. That's the kind of detail that online storytellers love because it adds that extra emotional layer to everything. Fans are calling it one of the most unexpected crossovers they've heard in weeks. And this is where the reports say Kirk finally reacted in a real way. Not brushing things off anymore, but stepping forward and telling Scrappy he wasn't about to be disrespected in front of everyone. Blogs claim his tone shifted, his posture changed, and the whole energy flipped again. The argument wasn't just tense anymore, it was explosive, and with Cardi allegedly somewhere nearby, the whole situation took on the feel of a moment. The internet would never stop talking about the way people online described the scene. Everything around the pool went from loud to absolutely silent in a matter of seconds. Even the folks who weren't part of the cast, just regular guests enjoying the resort, supposedly froze when Scrappy and Kirk stepped even closer, their voices echoing against the water. Scrappy looked like he was trying to hold everything in, but every word coming out of him carried this weight that bloggers say you could practically feel through the screen. They say he told Kirk he was tired of pretending things were cool between them when every time they tried to rebuild, something always came up that pushed the friendship back to zero. Kirk, on the other hand, was giving that controlled frustration energy the reports keep talking about. He wasn't yelling, but he wasn't soft either, the way gossip pages describe it. Kirk's voice dropped low enough that you couldn't hear every word unless you were right next to them, but the tone alone made it clear that he wasn't letting Scrappy talk to him like that without defending himself. Online sources claim Kirk told Scrappy he was exaggerating everything. And that's the exact phrase people keep repeating in comments, because that's what allegedly set Scrappy off even more. And that's when Cardi reportedly took a step closer. Bloggers are saying it wasn't dramatic, not like she stormed over or anything. They describe it as a simple shift, like she was already moving in that direction, and paused just close enough for both men to notice. But the second Scrappy saw her standing there, the whole dynamic changed again. Fans online describe it like Scrappy suddenly realized how big this moment had become. Not only was their group witnessing this argument, but now Cardi was watching too, and that put a new kind of pressure on him. One of the more viral reports says Cardi looked at both of them with this expression that said she was tired of men blowing up over things they should have talked about earlier. Some folks even claim she shook her head slightly, like she couldn't believe the energy she walked into. Nobody can confirm if that actually happened, but the way fans keep quoting it shows how much they want to believe she reacted like that. It matches her personality, which is probably why the rumor spread so fast. The tension got so heavy that even the resort music playing in the background supposedly felt too loud. Bloggers say someone from the cast tried to step between Scrappy and Kirk, but Scrappy brushed them aside without even touching them. Just a sharp gesture that said he wasn't done speaking. He told Kirk he'd been making excuses for too long, that the disrespect didn't start this week or this trip. He said something about loyalty, something about trust. And even though nobody seems to know the exact phrasing, the emotional hit of it was strong enough that every blog retelling it has the same theme. Scrappy wasn't just mad, he was hurt. Kirk meanwhile, is being painted online as someone who snapped after holding it together for too long. One rumor says he stepped forward and told Scrappy he wasn't about to stand there and be accused of things he didn't even do. Another version says Kirk told him the trip wasn't the place for this conversation and that Scrappy had picked the worst possible moment to start a scene. And then there's the more dramatic claim that Kirk looked Scrappy dead in the eye and asked him why he always had to turn everything into an argument. That line is blowing up because fans think it would be the exact thing to push Scrappy over the edge. At this point in the online reports, people say Cardi took a breath and stepped even closer, not to jump in aggressively but to break the energy before things crossed a line. Some fans claim she said something like, "This ain't worth it, y'all." And even though nobody knows for sure, the internet ran with it instantly. They love the idea of Cardi reminding two grown men that they're acting out in the middle of a beautiful resort like they don't have cameras, fans, and a whole reputation following them everywhere they go. But what's interesting is that even after Cardi supposedly stepped in, the argument didn't end. It just changed shape. Scrappy didn't yell anymore. According to the sources, he lowered his voice and spoke from a different kind of emotion. Some people online say that's when his honesty hit the hardest. He said he felt unsupported, like whenever he needed someone in his corner, Kirk acted neutral or detached. He said he was tired of pretending everything was fine when it wasn single quotes t.kirk. Hearing all that, reportedly looked thrown off for a moment. Bloggers keep describing this tiny pause where Kirk seemed like he didn't expect Scrappy to go in that deep. And then, instead of snapping back, Kirk said something quieter. Something that made a few people near them shift uncomfortably. Rumors say Kirk told Scrappy he wasn't a mind reader and that he didn't know he felt all that. Some reports even claim Kirk said Scrappy never opens up until it's too late. As soon as those rumors began circulating, fans started taking sides instantly. Some people accused Kirk of others said Scrappy was being dramatic. Entire threads broke out debating what support even means in friendships like theirs. And of course, every side of the internet started demanding behind-the-scenes footage that doesn't even exist. The argument might have cooled slightly at that point, but it didn't disappear. The reports say that while Scrappy and Kirk stopped talking over each other, there was still this giant wall of unresolved energy between them. Bloggers claim Cardi glanced between the two, like she was deciding whether she needed to say something else or let them handle it themselves. Fans are eating that detail up, because it paints her as this unexpected mediator who didn't ask to be involved but couldn't ignore the scene happening right in front of her. Meanwhile, other cast members were hovering nearby in complete confusion. Some sources say one person tried to pull Kirk aside. Someone else supposedly whispered something to Scrappy, trying to calm him down. But nothing seemed to work. The trip that was supposed to be a peaceful break had turned into a full-blown emotional mess. And now there were witnesses everywhere, including one of the biggest stars on the planet. And then comes the moment every blog is screaming about. According to multiple rumor pages, Scrappy looked at Kirk and said something that made the entire argument shift in an instant. Nobody knows the exact wording, but the theme of it is all over social media. Scrappy felt betrayed, not over the trip, not over some joke, but over something deeper. The way fans interpret it, Scrappy might have been holding on to resentment for a long time, something that hadn't been addressed, something Kirk didn't think would ever come back. The second Scrappy said it, the reports say Kirk froze, not shocked, not angry, frozen like he didn't expect that piece of the past to be thrown into the moment. Bloggers claim you could almost feel the temperature drop, even through the stories being told secondhand. That moment is the one fans keep dissecting, trying to figure out what exactly Scrappy meant and how deep the wound was, and ironically, that's also the same moment Cardi's alleged reaction went viral. Some say she whispered, "Oh wow," others say she folded her arms and looked away, like she didn't want to hear too much of their history. Whichever version is closest, fans are convinced Cardi realized right then that the argument wasn't random. It was layered with old tension that had been building for years, and as soon as that realization hit the group, the energy shifted for good. Scrappy stood there for a moment, trying to catch his breath, but the energy around him only got heavier. Kirk kept pacing, rubbing his hands together like he was trying to keep himself from exploding again. The other cast members whispered among themselves, unsure whether to step in or back away, because every time Scrappy and Kirk locked eyes, it felt like something dangerous was about to happen. The Puerto Rico air was thick, humid, and filled with tension that felt like it might snap at any moment. Even the hotel workers had backed off, watching from far corners just to make sure nobody made a move that turned everything upside looked down, Cardi B stood near the balcony railing, her voice echoing with frustration that she couldn't hold back anymore. She had tried to calm Kirk down, then tried to get Scrappy to explain, but both men were too heated to listen to anyone. Cardi shook her head and said under her breath that both of them were acting like they had something way deeper buried under the surface. Something more than a simple argument. And she wasn't wrong. Everyone could feel it. There was a heavy mix of resentment, bruised egos, and old wounds that had never been talked about. Mimi stepped a little closer to Scrappy and whispered that he needed to keep his cool. That the cameras were rolling and this was going to turn into something a lot messier if he didn't control himself. Scrappy didn't even look at her at first. He stared out at the ocean like he was trying to ground himself. Like the crashing waves might drown out the frustration building inside him. Eventually, he breathed out and told Mimi that he wasn't trying to fight, but he wasn't going to let Kirk disrespect him either. Mimi said she understood that, but she also reminded him that Kirk had a way of dragging people into drama that didn't end quickly. Kirk finally stopped pacing long enough to look at Scrappy and tell him that Cardi jumping in didn't mean he was off the hook. He said that the way Scrappy spoke to him earlier had crossed a line that couldn't be ignored. Scrappy laughed a dry, irritated laugh, the kind that comes from someone who's tired of being pushed. He said Kirk was acting like he never crossed lines himself, like he hadn't made a career out of dodging accountability. The words hit Kirk hard. His face tightened, and the silence in the room got heavier. The tension pulled Cardi back into the mix, whether she wanted it or not. She walked straight toward Scrappy and told him that taking low blows wasn't going to help anything. She reminded him that she had stepped in earlier, because she didn't want Kirk spiraling into something that would embarrass everybody. Scrappy asked her straight up why she kept defending Kirk like he didn't make mistakes too. And Cardi told him she wasn't defending him, she was just trying to keep the situation from getting out of control. She told both men that they were acting like they didn't know the world was watching. Meanwhile, fans online had already turned the whole situation into a storm. Clips from the argument had leaked, even though the episode hadn't aired yet, and the internet was in chaos. People were choosing sides, arguing over who started what, and speculating about hidden drama that nobody had mentioned yet. Some said Scrappy was finally standing up for himself. Others said Kirk was being pushed too far. And a lot of fans were stunned that Cardi was right in the center of everything. Commenters were flooding social media with the kind of fire that only made situations like this explode even more. Back inside the suite, the producers were scrambling, trying to convince everyone to calm down before things went further left. But when emotions are roaring, and pride is already cracked, even the calmest voice sounds like background noise. One of the producers asked Scrappy if he needed to step outside for some air. But Scrappy shook his head and said he wasn't running from anything. He told them he was tired of people thinking he should stay quiet when his feelings were getting stepped on. Kirk muttered that nobody told him to stay quiet, but everyone heard it. The room shifted again when Yandi stepped in, her expression full of disbelief. She had heard the yelling from the hallway and rushed inside, only to see Cardi in the middle of Kirk and Scrappy, like she was refereeing a heavyweight fight. Yandi asked what happened, but before anyone could answer, Kirk threw up his hands and said he didn't even know anymore. Scrappy snapped back that Kirk knew exactly what happened, and that pretending confusion wasn't going to fix anything. Yandi looked from one man to the other, trying to piece together the mess. Cardi walked toward Yandi and quietly explained her side of what happened, how she tried to stop it, how she tried to calm them down, but everything had spiraled way too fast. Yandi sighed deeply and said this was supposed to be a peaceful trip, something to get everyone back on the same page, not a battlefield. Scrappy told her that he didn't come to start anything, but when Kirk threw shade at him earlier, it pushed something he had been holding in for way too long. Kirk shook his head and told Yandi that Scrappy always felt attacked even when nobody said anything serious. Scrappy stepped forward at that, and the room froze again. Cardi placed a hand on Scrappy's chest and told him to chill, reminding him she wasn't going to let things turn violent, not while she was standing there. Scrappy looked down, took a slow breath, and said he wasn't trying to fight, he was trying to be heard. Cardi nodded, telling him she understood that, but this wasn't the way to do it. Kirk muttered something under his breath, something about people blowing things out of proportion, and that was the exact moment the energy shifted once again. Eyes snapped toward him, and Cardi told him point blank that he was making it worse. Outside, the sun was setting, casting a deep orange glow through the open balcony doors. The heat, the tension, the unresolved emotions all mixed into something that none of them could escape from. No matter how many deep breaths they took, it felt like the island itself was holding its breath, waiting to see which direction the storm would go next, and that was exactly where everything pivoted again, turning into something even the crew didn't see coming. Cardi stepped back, Kirk stepped forward, and Scrappy's expression changed in a way that warned everyone the night wasn't done unraveling yet. As the night in Puerto Rico slipped deeper into its uneasy calm, the atmosphere around the resort felt strangely electric, like nobody was ready to let go of the chaos that had unfolded. The whispers hadn't died down, the side eyes were still happening in every hallway, and the tension seemed to follow Scrappy, Kirk, and Cardi, like a shadow that refused to step aside. Even though everyone had tried to act like the worst was over, there was this quiet awareness that the drama hadn't truly settled, and the smallest spark could bring everything crashing back into motion. Cardi walked ahead with that slow, controlled stride, the kind that let everyone know she wasn't finished speaking her mind. Scrappy followed, still breathing heavy, while Kirk stayed a few steps behind, as if keeping his distance would prevent things from igniting again. Inside the lounge, the air smelled like pineapple cocktails and leftover perfume, but the energy was thick enough to cut. Rashida stood against the far wall with her arms crossed tight, her eyes tracking Kirk's every move, and the exhaustion on her face told its own story. Bambi sat near the corner, trying to keep calm but clearly rattled, her knee bouncing as she watched Scrappy pace back and forth like he was fighting the urge to explode again. Cardi dropped her bag on the sofa and turned around with this slow exhale that seemed to pull everyone's attention straight toward her. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her presence alone made the whole room lean forward. She looked at Scrappy first. "You gotta decide what you really mad about," she told him, her tone steady but sharp. "'Cause right now, you swinging at everything around you, and half the time it ain't even about the thing you said it was." Scrappy stared back, jaw tight, his chest moving fast. "Nah, Cardi, I'm mad 'cause he keep playing like I ain't peep what he's doing." He shot back. "He throwing shots like I'm dumb or something." Kirk lifted his head slightly, hands in his pockets, avoiding direct eye contact but clearly listening. "I wasn't throwing no shots," he muttered. "You just twisted what I said." That set Scrappy off again. "Bro, you literally said I needed someone to babysit me," he snapped. "How you gon' say that and then pretend like I'm the crazy one for reacting?" Cardi stepped between them without hesitation, her hand out like she was blocking two stubborn little kids. "Nah, not today," she said firmly. "We ain't doing the fake explanations that don't fix nothing. If y'all got something deeper going on, this the time to say it. Stop circling around it like y'all scared of the truth." Rashida finally pushed off the wall and walked closer, her voice calmer but heavy. "You both been throwing little remarks at each other for weeks," she said quietly. "Every time we all hang out, y'all turn it into a competition. Who's doing better? Who's more solid? Who's more real? It's exhausting watching y'all turn everything into a challenge." That silenced the room for a moment because nobody wanted to admit she was right. Scrappy's expression softened just a little, but he didn't fully let his guard down. Kirk kept shifting his weight like he wanted to disappear and defend himself at the same time. Bambi finally spoke up, leaning forward with her elbows on her knees. "I think he feels like you've been judging him," she said to Kirk. "Like maybe you say things lightly, but they hit deeper than you think." Kirk sighed, rubbing the side of his head. "I wasn't trying to judge him," he murmured. "I was just trying to say that sometimes he makes choices that put him in situations he don't need to be in." Scrappy's eyes widened. "And who don't?" He shot back. "You think you ain't put nobody in weird situations before? You think your choices ain't messed people up?" Rashida stiffened, her eyes briefly flashing toward Kirk, like she already knew where Scrappy was going. Kirk's face tightened, the guilt washing over him even though nobody mentioned specifics. The air grew still, everyone waiting to see if Scrappy was about to cross a line. But Cardi stepped in fast, her tone shifting into something more serious, almost protective. More serious, almost protective. "Look," she said, turning her attention to both men. "Nobody in this room perfect. Not a single one of y'all. But y'all acting like enemies when y'all supposed to be brothers. Y'all ain't beefing about a Puerto Rico trip. This been building way before today." The truth in her words landed hard. They all felt it. The tension wasn't about drinks or jokes or the ocean. It was old bruises, bruised pride, and years of unspoken resentment. Scrappy's shoulders slowly dropped, exhaustion finally pushing through the anger. "I just don't like feeling disrespected," he admitted quietly. "I got stuff going on that I don't always talk about. So when someone I consider close starts making me feel small, it hits different." Kirk looked away for a moment before nodding. I hear you, he whispered, and maybe I wasn't careful about how I said things. Sometimes I joke around thinking everybody gets it, but maybe I pushed too far. For the first time all night, the room softened. Rashida let out a breath she'd been holding onto, and Bambi unclenched her hands. Cardi stepped back and crossed her arms, watching both men like a referee making sure nobody backed. Scrappy looked at Kirk with this cautious stare, like he was deciding whether to let the anger go or cling to it a little longer. Kirk finally lifted his head. I don't want us to be on bad terms, he said. We've been through too much to let stupid stuff blow everything up. Scrappy nodded slowly. I ain't trying to fight you, he replied. I just want respect. That's it. Cardi tilted her head, satisfied but still testing the tension. So say that to each other, for real, she instructed. Not around it, not halfway, say it like men who actually want the problem gone. Kirk turned fully toward Scrappy. I respect you, he said, his voice steadying as he spoke. I don't always say stuff the right way, I joke too hard, and sometimes I don't think, but I never meant to make you feel small. That wasn't my intention. Scrappy held his gaze, searching for anything that felt like insincerity, but he didn't find it. And I respect you too, he admitted. I just got a lot on my mind. Sometimes I take things too personal. I gotta work on that. The room loosened even more, and Cardi finally allowed herself a small smile. Good, she said, 'cause I swear if I had to stop y'all from swinging one more time, I was about to start charging. That pulled a few laughs from around the room, breaking the last layer of tension. Rashida walked over to Kirk and touched his arm, her face softening with relief. Bambi leaned back, shaking her head as if she couldn't believe the night finally slowed down, and Scrappy sat down, letting out a sigh that felt like he'd been holding it for months. Cardi grabbed her phone, glancing around. Y'all need one last thing before this night ends, she said, and no, it ain't more drinks. Y'all need to actually chill and stop pretending these trips gotta turn into war zones. They all nodded, the truth settling in, the air finally clearing. And though the night had been messy and wild, there was this unspoken understanding that something real had shifted between them, something that felt like closure. Or at least the start of it, as the Puerto Rico night finally slowed and the chaos settled into a strange sense of calm. The whole situation left everyone quietly thinking about how quickly things can spiral when pride, pressure, and old frustrations mix together. Cardi stepping in changed the entire direction of the night, and even though her presence brought some peace, the truth is that fans are still debating whether the tension is really gone or if the calm is just temporary. People online are still breaking down every moment, every glance, every sentence, trying to understand what pushed Scrappy and Kirk to that point in the first place and whether everything they said in that room truly fixed the deeper cracks in their friendship. Nobody can deny that emotions ran high. The group was pushed to its limits, and the energy around them felt heavier than anyone expected from a simple getaway. And that's the part that keeps viewers talking. Was this just another dramatic moment between two longtime friends? Or is this the start of a much bigger divide that might show up later in the season? Did Cardi's intervention really settle things? Or did she just press pause on an issue that's been simmering for too long? Even now, fans are questioning what's going to happen the next time they're all in the same room. Whether the vibe will stay calm or explode all over again. And now it's your turn to jump in. If you're watching this, make sure to hit that like button because it really helps the channel grow. Subscribe so you don't miss the next update when more reports start coming out about this situation. And drop a comment below telling us what you think. Do you believe Scrappy and Kirk truly settled things? Or are they just waiting for the next spark to ignite everything again? Your opinion matters, so let us know.